Mom, bring the meatloaf! A Legbeard buys a snack. Amanda story. There are a lot of Amanda stories. This is a new series, so welcome in. I posted this yesterday, but the text didn't show for some reason. Snowed in, I figured that I'd just rewrite the whole debacle. Well, that's one way to spend your time. I gotta admire OP's perseverance there. Amanda was a Legbeard that I knew throughout childhood. When I knew her, she was at best like a proto-Legbeard. Later, she would gain weight, find anime, and fully embrace her destiny. She was slightly shorter than average, with an average build and sandy hair. Her face was rather fleshy and poorly put together, even when she was thin. She reminded me of the characters from Oblivion.
How's it going?
So what you mean is she got a potato face? That's like every character in Oblivion. For this tale, Amanda was not the focus, although it does show off her personality nicely. No, the focus was on Mr. Napoleon, our band director. Napoleon was short, round, and fought for the greatness that he thought he deserved when in actuality he didn't. Sounds like another Neckbeard teacher to me. Hey, check out the School of Beard series if you haven't yet. Thanks so much. This tale starts with a parade. Oh, I love a parade. It was some huge multi-county event with a dozen divisions, a huge number of marching bands, parades, local groups, fire trucks. Yeah, the whole works. It was scheduled for the height of midsummer heat. Good, crank the hose on the fire trucks. Get everybody all misted and stuff. It's gonna be so much fun. We were slated for the last division, and Mr. Napoleon was rather excited, as the other band in our division was some award-winning, nationally ranked marching band. He began to work himself into a tizzy, planning to show up this rival band. Before long, he was phrasing it as though he and the other director had some sort of rivalry. I'm pretty sure the rival director never thought twice about Napoleon. Napoleon was so desperate to win our division. We're gonna get to see his downfall. Far too much hubris in this tiny, tiny man. We were slated with extra practices so that we would be on point. His other plan included intimidation. When the rival band showed up, we would already be drilling in the parking lot, and not in a fun way, which somehow was meant to strike fear into the hearts of the rival players. That's adorable, dude. You're taking all this far too seriously. The day of the parade, we did get there early. Rules were that we weren't allowed any personal items off the bus other than the instruments and music, and that we had to be in full uniform from the moment we stepped off the bus until we were back on it after the parade. Oh yeah, he's running tight ship, isn't he? Our uniform, for the record, consisted of a heavy wool coat, equally heavy wool pants, unbreathable shoes with knee-height socks, and a pot like a hat made from plastic. We had arrived at the parade setup long before anyone else. The sun was still rising, and yet it was still toasty. Yeah, probably because the wool pants and wool coat and all this. The whole marching band about to melt. So we drilled, and we marched, and we played as the sun rose and the people arrived and other bands started piling out. We marched as it got hot, and then it got hotter. Our postures melted. As you get exhausted, your tone starts to go flat, so we were starting to sound really awful. Altogether, we were drilling for over 3 hours straight, when finally the rival band arrived to find us milling around in circles, sounding terrible. You should have saved it. You spent all of this energy early in the morning for no reason whatsoever. And probably you're gonna be burnt out before the parade, right? It's a terrible plan. Terrible plan. Anyways, rival band was dressed in slacks and polo shirts. The director told them to relax in the nearby pavilion in the shade, until it was closer for them to queue up. See, keeping them well rested, that director knows what he's doing. Finally, Mr. Napoleon decided to give us a break, and we began a frantic search for water. We were by a Little League field, and they had a concession stand open, but because we weren't allowed personal items, none of us had any money. That ain't a personal item, that's the government's. IRS is coming.
What was it that was in your pocket, though? Because it seemed interesting. It seemed like really interesting. What was it?
So about now is where Amanda, our Legbeard, finally enters. I didn't even notice that she wasn't there. I was so entertained by Mr. Napoleon falling on his face. But Amanda rather proudly announced that she had a $20 bill stashed behind her music. Well, hallelujah. The stand was selling water at 3 or 4 small bottles for $1. So this was enough for most of the band to have some water. We all began to sing the praises of our friend when she said, "No! No? No! It was her money! She wasn't gonna buy us any water! Then why did you even bother telling us about the $20 bill? Bro, you're just the worst. This is how you get robbed." Bribes, threats, begging, nothing could change Amanda's mind. Instead, she just looked smug and then proudly announced that she was hungry and headed towards the concession stand. Dude, she's insufferable. Are you get the legs, all right? I'm going for the head. We're gonna get some money right now. Thirst at that moment was winning out over other emotions, so in frantic desperation, we headed across the street to a video rental place, burst in the door, still in full uniform, and begged for water. Today, the Blockbuster gods were kind. The manager provided us with a handful of tiny Dixie cups and let us drink from the bathroom sink located in the back room. God, not ideal, but needs must, I suppose. We lined up, probably 50 band members, spilling out the back door and frantically filling those cups, handing them down the line to someone who would shotgun the water and hand the cup back to be refilled again. I suppose Mr. Napoleon nor Amanda has ever heard of heat stroke, right? This is such a bad situation to be in. During this rehydration session, Amanda made her way back from the concession stand through the parking lot around the building to sit on the curb where she would be in full view of the people waiting for water. She had balanced in each hand a bounty of concession goods, nachos, hot dogs, chips, candy bars, 2 sodas, all $20 clearly spent. She began shoving these items into her mouth noisily, staring at us, completely smug. Yeah, basically hater. Why are you doing this? Do you think this is gonna win you friends? I don't get it. To everyone's credit, we didn't end her life. No, instead we got a call that the break was over and we had to get back to drilling. Everyone reluctantly gave up on the wait for water and we started in again, marching and playing and sweating. Heat was coming off the asphalt in waves that you could feel through the soles of these cheap band shoes. Everyone's wool uniforms were dark with sweat. I kind of wonder what state or country OP lives in that they just would not expect it to be hot. You got these wool uniforms that you spend a grip on and then the shoes are just complete trash. So finally our division was queuing up, which meant that rival band finally came out of relaxing in the shade with their water bottles, and they did a quick warm-up and got in formation. Our band, however, slogged over the line. Amanda was placed in the front row in the outer column, and I was beside her. The parade finally started, the route seemingly uphill the entire way. Most people had stopped watching, going indoors to escape the heat. We weren't even technically marching by this point, just sort of walking. We sounded terrible Because music is hard to read through sweat, I was understandably not very sympathetic towards Amanda at this moment, so I was ignoring the fact that every time she put down her clarinet, she would let out a moan or a groan. Oh yeah, life's so hard. Of course Amanda plays clarinet. If I had to pick, I'd say clarinet or French horn. My first guess. By the time we got turned down the block where the judges were, we were barely shambling along like zombies. We could have sounded better if we were farting through our instruments. The drum major looked like she should be carried off in a stretcher. And this was the moment that all the snacks Amanda had consumed came back to haunt her. She turned her head, walking along with the band, and puked up all of those concession goodies. Beautiful. It ended up being a block-long streak of vom, front and center in front of the judges. Obviously, we didn't win division. Karma always finds a way. You know, you didn't want to share with your teammates. You wanted to be just a hog, really is what it is. You're being a freaking pig for no reason whatsoever, instead of helping out the people around you. And there, it strikes back. I'm glad it happened. I wish I could say I feel bad for it, but I really, really don't. And it's painted quite a picture of Amanda, so I'm excited to see what other sort of shenanigans she'll get into. Like I said, this series, super long. There's lots of Amanda to feast upon. So let us see what Amanda has in store for us in the next story right now. Surfing USA, an Amanda story. I'm taking bets on whether she's gonna throw up anywhere. Go ahead, put your money on the table. This story is about Amanda, a legbeard that I knew throughout my childhood and throughout high school. In high school, she was short, average weight, with sandy blonde hair and a fleshy face. I thought she was average height in the last one, whatever. In college, she gained weight and found the ways of anime, but I knew her in her proto-legbeard days. I graduated in 2002, so I went through high school right at the era of extreme sports becoming a thing. Going skateboarding after school was common. All the cool guys were getting BMX bikes, etc. Amanda fell into crushes hard and fast, so half the guys she was into would brag about their sporting abilities and play them up. Most common of her crush's talents, though, was snowboarding. So I take it maybe they do live in a cool place. If it was snowboard, that's why everybody has wool jackets in the last one. Maybe Mr. Napoleon isn't completely mentally deficient. Maybe. My small town was just outside the Pocono Mountains. So a fair number of kids had grown up skiing or worked at one of the ski lodges as a part-time job. One of the closest slopes had just opened up to snowboarding. A member of the marching band was one of their first snowboarding instructors and had scored a ton of discount coupons to come and try out a session with him. So, in high school tradition, we packed as few cars full of as many people as would fit, and we drove out there. I mean, this is good for him. He's not doing it for free, it's just discounted. He's counting stacks this weekend. Buku bucks, I guarantee. Anyways, Amanda seemed to be in rare form on this particular day. She complained about the car being overcrowded and complained about the car itself and the walk from the parking lot. Oh, it was just too far. And wearing rented ski gear. Oh, that's so gross. She was rude and talked back during the orientation that our friend, the ski instructor, was giving us. She had spent time watching people snowboard and listening to people talk about snowboarding. Instruction wasn't necessary. Oh yeah, totally, she knows it all. Some people gotta learn the hard way, OP. Just let it happen. All that was required was for Amanda to be let loose upon the snow to prove her innate talent and use this to woo all the hot snowboarding guys.
Whoa! Whoa! Whoa!
After the class break, I ended up far away from Amanda. Thanks to the acoustics of the slope, however, I could still hear her complaining, even when I couldn't see her through the trees. Snowboarding, it seemed, wasn't as easy as she thought. Yeah, what made you think it was gonna be? You're sliding down a mountain on a plank of wood strapped to your feet. Skiing is so much easier. Definitely ski if you're going for the first time, okay? Just pro tip. I spent a few hours falling and finding new and inventive ways of injuring myself on the snowy mountain before deciding that snowboarding just wasn't for me. Yeah, same vibe here. A few other friends had come to the same conclusion, and we headed back to the lodge where we found Amanda, tucked angrily in a corner, complaining about the subpar hot chocolate. Bro, it's Swiss Miss, okay? Get out of my face. Give me your money and go, I don't care. One of my friends there was a perfect teenage jerk, and he started chiding her about how she had claimed she would be a natural snowboarder. Honestly, not very jerkish a-hole move in this situation. She deserves it. What happened to her that she was back so soon? Slight bully, but I don't know, you set yourself up. Amanda blamed the rental equipment. Our friends, who were good skiers and snowboarders, had their own equipment, so obviously renting something made you bad at the sport. And not that being good at something and sticking with it made you more likely to invest. Duh. Yeah, Amanda's not too great with the critical thinking faculties, is she? Besides, she argued, this time with a snowboard was utterly wasted on her, as she was in her heart of hearts a surfer. What? Yeah, it's different but the same. I mean, some things do apply, I guess. The balance, different weight distribution. And OP does give Amanda credit. She stuck to her BS obvious lie with conviction. Her wardrobe slowly had more surfboards on it, Roxy and Quicksilver. She managed to get surfing stickers on her locker. Bro, don't you live in the Northeast? How good are the waves out there, man? Amanda's yearbook activities for that year listed Surf Club, a thing which in no way, shape, or form existed. She would wax philosophical about graduating and moving down to the beach and just riding the waves. Tell you what's gonna happen to you, Amanda. You're gonna end up
Living in a van down by the river.
For the most part, this future talk wasn't really an issue. We were 15, all still contemplating our adult life. Everyone was still changing their when I grow ups on a daily basis. Maybe she would go on to become a surfer. Who really knew? No, the issue was that she outright claimed that she was, right now, a proficient surfer in a landlocked town. Who dodged the question when she was asked if she had ever surfed. This is just sad, honestly. She really wants her own identity, but she's not interesting enough to come up with it herself. Just like, yeah, I guess. Surfing, that's my thing. Don't ask me to do it. Nobody asked me to do it. So, at some point, she started talking incessantly about this little hot dog stand outside of town. She claimed that her uncle was buying it for her and was going to convert it into a surf shop in a landlocked town. It's not exactly a business mind either. She'd cover the outside with bamboo and sell surfboards and surfwear. The fact that buying a surfboard in the mountains made about as much sense as buying a snowblower in the desert never seemed to factor into this for Amanda. Did anybody ever just sit her down and be like, look, you ain't gotta lie to kick it. We all know you're lying and it's not really a good look, so just stop, be real with me. Then I can be real with you. Again, all of this wasn't in a wishful sort of way. No, Amanda said this straight-faced, and any attempt to tell her that it sounded completely made up was met with resistance. You'll all see, she would say. They were buying merchandise for the store right now. Her uncle was signing the papers on the building as we spoke. How do you think this is gonna work out? You're gonna get a year or two into this lie and just be like, yeah, paperwork's still not finished, I don't know. Nobody believed it to start with. It's only getting less believable. Please stop. Please stop. Not surprisingly, the hot dog stand remained a hot dog stand.
It's always money in a banana stand.
Anyways, things came to a head autumn of my junior year. For reasons that I don't quite remember, we decided to go to Atlantic City over fall break. The cost of this trip was decided purely by how many human beings we could fit into a hotel room to split up the costs. And the answer to that is, yeah, a lot. How much floor space we got? How many people can sleep on the floor? It's like 15 to 20 people in one hotel room. You split up the cost, that's about $350. About $350. Goddamn Loch Ness Monster. So the second that this trip was even starting to be considered, Amanda was ecstatic. She was going to the beach where she would meet her surfer brethren, finally. And this would somehow show us all. You know what they have a lot of in Atlantic City? Casinos. You know what they don't have a lot of? Surfing, especially in November. Are the 15-year-old kids going to the casino? Is there stuff to do in Atlantic City? Like, Las Vegas is kind of more for kids these days. At least more than it was back in the day. But Atlantic City still seems like, yeah, just a seedy place that's full of gambling. I got a lot of questions, but sometimes high school kids make decisions. Whatever. Moreover, Amanda's version of what the beach would be like seems straight out of a 1950s movie. Surfboards lined up, dancing, random bonfires with people singing to a ukulele and swaying palm trees. Yeah, none of that was really the case in New Jersey. I still feel really bad for her. Although I'm sure that feeling won't persist for very long, as happens in Legbeard stories. As you might have guessed, this trip was fairly doomed from the start. None of us were old enough to gamble. Yeah, that was my first thought. And the shows in the casinos were either out of our price range or required walking across the gaming floor, which is, of course, a no-no because none of us were old enough to gamble. Most things were closed for the season, leaving us few things to do other than frisbee played in our sweatshirts on the beach. Add to this that sleeping 12 to a room meant that no one was actually sleeping, and it was a pretty cranky experience. It's a miserable idea. Pay the extra money for your own room. It'll be worth it. The sole shining gem among all of this was Amanda's discovery. You see, Amanda had wandered off on the first day. After looking around desperately for the surfers that she was trying to find, she came back subdued. Day 2, however, she rushed in excited. She had found a legit surf shop. Oh, it was all just like she had dreamed. Yeah, dreamed and actively lied about, both of those things. We went to see, mostly out of morbid curiosity, to find out if she had really fallen into an alternative reality, which honestly, not outside the realm of possibility. The shop was a souvenir shop with a slight tiki theme to it. They had shot glasses and t-shirts with Atlantic City on them, cheap sunglasses, posters, and incense. The closest thing we found to anything surf-themed was a few boogie boards sitting in the back. But Amanda was making out like this was the greatest retail experience ever. A real surf shop. Ah, man, she don't get out too much, do she? Again, I want to feel bad for you, but you lied about all this. You even lied to get people to come and look at this thing with you. I can't help her. I can't fix her. I just hope she reaches a realization at some point. It's probably not gonna happen. Like I said, there's a lot of these stories. The second we made it inside of this surf shop, Amanda strutted over to the counter and gestured to the clerk, who looked around our age. "This is Matt," she said. Matt. She batted her eyes at him. Did he not go blind at that point? We all politely browsed the store, but Amanda was all over that counter and the guy behind it. She would lean across the table, laid backwards on the counter, looking up at him. You tried so hard. Just pack it in, please. There were sighs, heaving bosoms, licked lips. That poor guy. He was like a rabbit caught in a trap. Yeah, he's only being nice to you because he works here, Amanda. Stop it. I bet you're a real surfer. She breathed at him when we came to check out. Matt shook his head. No, looking confused. This wasn't the answer that Amanda was looking for, which was basically the only reason that we got her back out of that shop. Should have left her there, dude. It's just easier that way. The way back, she would occasionally sigh. Oh, I bet Matt just didn't want to brag. I bet he surfs all the time, working at a surf shop. This literally went on for months, with her occasionally getting all dreamy-eyed and musing out loud that she wondered what Matt was doing. She is kind of like Starfish Beard in her way, isn't she? Just lovesick and very, very not too bright. A friend managed to get an autograph of a contestant in the X Games. Huge 2000s bragging rights, by the way. And this, of course, was nothing compared to the championship surfer that Amanda could have totally hooked up with back at the beach, if only she hadn't been sharing a room with 11 other people. But such are the wages of love, I do suppose. Someone got her in the Secret Santa swap that year and bought her a load of rocket power, that Nickelodeon cartoon stuff, and everyone except Amanda thought it was hysterical. I'll admit to you guys right here and now, I told a lot of stupid lies in my younger days, stuff that I thought would make me look cool. And with an older person's perspective looking back on it, yeah, dude, that's a lot of cringe. That's heavy cringe. Not as heavy as some of the stuff that we get into around here, but it's all relative, isn't it? Amanda ain't a surfer. She probably ain't ever gonna be a surfer, but it's good to have big dreams, you know? It's much easier to say this is something that I'd like to do than convince people that it's a thing that you actually do when you don't actually do it, right? Does this make sense? All right. Anyways, we'll get one more story in here. Like I said, there's a lot of these, so we're gonna do 3 per episode, God willing, time permitting. All right, let's hop into it. A Legbeard's crushes and taking one for the team. Amanda stories. Oh no, did you bang a Legbeard, bro? Can you tell me right now? Oh, this is the continuing tale of Amanda, a Legbeard that I knew through her formative years. She was average weight, a bit short, with a fleshy face and sandy blonde hair. Later, she would go on to gain weight, lose hygiene, and discover anime. But these are the tales of her high school years. During the high school years, epic in scale and number were the loves of Amanda. Crushes came out of nowhere, and they were all encompassing and desperate and downright terrifying. Sounds like standard Legbeard fare to me, honestly. I had, on a few separate occasions, had the pleasure of watching Amanda flirt. It involved invading personal space, batting her eyes, heaving her chest out, and contorting into poses. Yeah, like she's laying on the counter with that surf shop dude. It's not working for me or anybody else. Basically, she was acting like a puppy, trying to get a piece of scotch tape off of its back. But usually, her method of operation for crushes was just outright stalking. I'm surprised she didn't get recruited by the NSA thanks to this intensive training. Usually, the intended crushee only learned that they were the object of her affection when they would get a tingle in the back of their neck and turn to see Amanda half hidden behind a support pole in the cafeteria, staring. She would ask to go to the bathroom and instead duck over to watch her guy through the window of their classroom. God help you if you happen to have one of her crushes in class with you. You would be grilled on the play-by-play. Did they talk to anyone? Were they looking at anyone? What did they say in class discussions? Bro, is it that hard to chill? Just be cool. I mean, I get it. The hormones are raging. It's a hard thing to manage sometimes. But at least try. At least practice. Meanwhile, her notebooks would be filled with block letter renditions of their name. Her first name and their last name. Mr. and Mrs. his last name. Her and his last names hyphenated. Tiny hearts surrounding his name. She'd try to find pictures of them, which she would then pair with hers. Thank God this was the era before we all had Photoshop. In extreme cases, she would name their children, sketch out their house. Their living room would be green, and they would have their Christmas tree in front of the window. And they called it puppy love. Maybe this goes a little bit beyond that. This is definitely getting into creepier and creepier territory. You bring imaginary children into the mix and I'm like, all right, I'm out. I can't. The biggest mistake came when she managed to become the school newspaper photographer. Oh, what kind of hiring practice is this? Basically, it gave her carte blanche to attend and take pictures of the most recent object of her infatuation. At some point, though, she attempted to take pictures inside the boys' locker room, and her duties as photographer were unceremoniously stripped away. As they should be. What are you doing? Bro, how do you not get expelled? I can't. Anyways, the good news for anyone who found themselves as Amanda's crush du jour was that they never really lasted that long. In fact, it usually took about 2 weeks for her to break up with a guy that she was never dating, usually for some tiny perceived slight. Or in actuality, she finally came to the realization that they're never going to be interested. These were catastrophic events, of course, and Amanda would burn the doodles and the pictures of that guy, crying to anyone who would listen. She would say nasty things behind their backs as they passed in the hall, or spread rumors about their girlfriend. Quite remarkable, considering that these were usually guys that she had never actually had a conversation with. This is all very worrying. I think it's time for somebody to go on a list, at least go to therapy. This could escalate in a very bad direction. The best part was, this was a small school with some slim pickings, meaning a number of unlucky guys went through this whole ritual more than once. Oh, God. Her tendency towards crushes came in handy once, though. Contrasted to Amanda's rapid psycho crushes was the unrequited love of my friend Jennifer. Jennifer had moved to town at 12 and instantly fell in love with the boy across the street, John, who was a year older than she was. This crush was a well-kept secret, however, as John was dating a girl who all call Helga. And Helga was a massive girl, standing over 6 feet tall, broad shoulders, hands like bowling balls. I can only really account for their relationship through the fact that John must have had a proclivity for larger women. Helga was known to get in fights and to beat up anyone who even glanced at John. That's all right, Jennifer's over there biding her time. As long as John doesn't move, he's right across the street. I know where you live, so I'm ahead of the game. Faced with the mountain who menstruates. What a nickname, dude. Jennifer was playing her crush really close to her chest, vowing that she would say something if and only if they ever broke up. Somehow, they didn't, dating all throughout high school and into college. Meanwhile, Jennifer only had eyes for John for literally years. Yeah, that one-itis could be real strong every once in a while, you know? I was in on this crush, and one day Jennifer slipped me a note in class, folded, of course, into a tiny triangle, which both said dreamy things about John and nasty things about Helga. I was putting things into my locker when I must have dropped it. Turning around, I saw Helga reading the letter, getting progressively more red-faced and angry. Oh boy, that document probably should have been marked as confidential, stuffed away in a file somewhere. How did Helga just happen to read this random letter on the floor? There's more to the story, OP. The whole logic here is a little bit sus, but I'm gonna let you get away with it for now. Thankfully, Helga's logic was simple. She had found an unsigned, unaddressed note that said unflattering things about herself and apparently the intention to go after her boyfriend. It was found by a short wall of lockers where there were only 2 girls. One was known for being rude and nasty to people, and also for crushing on literally every guy in high school. And so the next thing you know, Amanda finds herself checked into a wall, whacked across the face, while an angry Helga bellows a stream of insults and threats to stay away from her boyfriend. Helga was suspended for fighting. Amanda was both bruised and confused. I was amused. And Jennifer passed well under suspicion. Honestly, again, karma for Amanda. I'm grateful that Jennifer was able to slip by. She seems like a sweet girl, just a bad case of one-itis that'll never happen. But Amanda, she's mean, she's selfish, she's nasty. She obviously doesn't see boys as people if she's just out there trying to collect them all, so okay, good. I'm glad Helga was able to teach you a lesson. Like I said, I'd like to feel bad, but it's getting harder and harder the more of these we read. And we'll read some more a little bit later on in the week. Thank you so much for joining me today, friends. I appreciate you. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share the video around, follow me on all the things, many links in the description. I'm trying to get 1,000 followers on TikTok so I can stream over there. I've been streaming on Twitch. You should come see me stream over there. And I'm streaming everywhere on YouTube. And then we're going to... Of course, also, big, huge, wondrous thank you to my Patreon patrons, my YouTube channel members. Support if you're able. Thanks so much. Always remember, friends, that you are loved, you are worthy, you definitely deserve it, and I shall see you in the next one. So until then, bye-bye.